Hi all and welcome back to another video. Today we're going to be going over one of my favorite alt history games, Conflict 47. Conflict 47 is an alt history World War II game by Warlord Games, and I truly do think most people who play bolt action, and even those who are just kind of interested in a World War II war game, should play or try Conflict 47 at some point. It uses the bolt action rule set as a baseline and builds off of it into a more sci-fi skewed game system. Set in alt history in 1947, it allows for a fun variation to the already amazing rules in bolt action, and allows for a lot more depth and replayability than it might first seem as a bolt action plot extra rules. The setting is a classic what would happen if World War II went on longer. The atomic bomb testing created an unknown rift that sends technological secrets through it, but the US dropped a nuke on Germany before fully understanding the rift that they had initially opened, allowing Germany to receive the same insights. The U.S.A., keeping the technology to themselves a little bit longer than Germany, gave Germany and the Axis nations the upper hand and allowed them to spread the technology out among their allies and pretty much fight back and keep World War II going on just a little bit longer. We have Nazi werewolves, we have large Soviet mutated bear men, we have Tesla weapons, compression guns, just a ton of fun little sci-fi concepts that are really cool. Conflict 47 has slightly different rules than normal bolt action, mainly due to how the game has changed in 2nd edition, as a lot of Conflict 47 rules were based on 1st edition bolt action, and just, some slight changes that way it's not the exact same game. HE, or High Explosive, works slightly differently, and a few other orders have been changed, sometimes for the better. Reactions have been given a lot more options than bolt action has had, giving you the ability to return fire, run to cover, and even more depending on what exactly you're trying to do. This changes the flow of the game significantly, as the main draw of bolt action is the random dice draw mechanic. However, with the reaction system, yes, you are still making an order test to do it, but you are able to act more out of order and in reaction to your opponent, which makes you play the game differently than normal bolt action in a significant way. The question I most get when I try to get people into Conflict 47 is why this instead of normal bolt action? And I always think a better question is why not both? Most generic infantry or tank options are the same in Conflict and bolt action. In fact, if you buy the Conflict kit, you can build both turrets, the Conflict 47 and the bolt action version of them, without any issues. You can already have bolt action army, for instance, if you're me and already have 3 of them, then you can get some Conflict units for about $100 and have an army for both games. Now, you won't have a very sci-fi heavy Conflict army, but you'll have a starting point, and that is really what matters the most. Each faction has multiple new units to fit into the new theme, and I personally love the World War II technologically advanced settings. From the Japanese to the Soviets, all the new models look amazing and have been shown on the right. I have shown you some of the US heavy troopers, the Soviet heavy troopers, the British automatons, and on the right here we have the Japanese heavy troopers. They play like heavy infantry, giving them more keywords that make them harder to take down than your normal infantry, which is really cool and fun, and in the games I played were fantastic. A lot of the army rules share or slightly alter the rules from normal bolt action. The US ignore advance penalty, to the German extra shots, etc. Where the game truly shines is the unique new keywords, the horror units instilling fear, zombies that ignore pins, compression guns that do extra things if all the shots hits. This allows for each army to have ridiculous items that are balanced out by the simple army rules taken straight from bolt action and in some cases slightly altered. So how does this play? If you don't know what bolt action is and have never played it before and you've heard me this far into this kind of short video, that is really just a primer for you, well, bolt action plays as a kind of I go you go system but with a twist. You take order dice, drop them into a blind bag, and draw one at a time. This can lead to you going 3 times, your opponent going 4 times. In certain games I have played, I have drawn almost my entire army's worth of dice and then the opponent gets to go after. It simulates a kind of fog of war delay in orders type of situation. I love bolt action, and I play a lot of it very regularly. Conflict plays using that same base activation and rule system, and excels because of it. It offers a surprisingly different gameplay style just from the order changes alone. Instead of just the I go, you go, or the possibility of your opponent going 4 times, or 5 times, you can now react to the things they do in a more organic and unique fashion. Now, I will say that does not mean I like this better than normal bolt action. I do think normal bolt action captures the feel of a more realistic World War II setting that it tries to while also being fun and unique. But Conflict has a really fun and cool rule set as well, and I want to be able to praise both of them without saying I prefer one over the other. I think both of them fit in very different game niches, which is why I do think it is worth playing. The test games I played were played with the USA and Germany starter sets, so we had a good amount of the new unit types to mess around with. Thanks to Warlord Games for providing the Germany starter set for, well, me to actually experience Conflict 47 in a better way. One of my friends had already gotten the USA starter set, so it worked out pretty well. Now, Conflict 47 is a bit more expensive than Bolt Action, and a lot of the minis are metal resin. I feel like this is the fair warning for pricing in metal resin. Now, if you've seen many of my other videos, you know that the prices I'm about to list ridiculously cheap compared to most other war games out there. At least a good portion of war games out there. I am very used to working with metal and resin, and Warlord resin is some of the best I have ever used. However, some people dislike resin and metal, which I completely understand. They are not as convenient as plastic. I don't think that means they're bad. Most boxes are 60 apiece. However, they do come with enough to fill out a unit. You can also buy supplemental units and supplemental things for as cheap as $17 to $20, and most vehicles hover around the 55 to 60 range, other than the super heavies, which are like 100 to 120. But those are not something you should really buy to start out with. Those are more, I want to build an army around this type of thing. So you've listened to me gush about this system and how it's slightly different from Bolt Action and how much I love it. But what about the long-term support? What does it look like in the future? Because sometimes some of these games don't get all the support they deserve. Well, I have some good news for you. Conflict 47 is still heavily supported by Warlord Games. Recently, Andy Chambers of GW renown and somewhat Warlord Games renown as well, was brought on to Conflict 47 and is assembling a team to continue to push the game forward. I'll be covering the game as these announcements happen, and I am extremely excited to see where Conflict 47 goes. And I am very, very happy Warlord is seeing such success in it to continue a system that is unique and doesn't really get fit in by many other niches. I can't think of another weird war alt history World War II game that has this much support and has lasted this long. If you are a Bolt Action player, this game system is a no-brainer for you. It's another new game system for cheap comparatively because you're really just buying a couple small units, and that can't really be beat. I do believe if you are a non-Bolt Action player, this game is worth your time. And many of the times in buying the armies for Conflict 47, you can also end up with a Bolt Action army at the end as well. Both systems are so heavily intertwined that you can get into both for decently cheap. Kind of pretty much a half-priced army in both, and both rule systems are amazing. I will be covering Conflict 47 and Bolt Action 3rd Edition in depth as we get closer to the new releases. I hope this Why You Should Try video was a bit better than my last one. I've been putting a lot more effort into YouTube, and I hope all of you enjoyed this video. Have a wonderful weekend all, and I will see you all next week with a longer video about miniature agnostic wargames. Following up that, I have a longer video about solo wargames as well. In fact, I have several follow-up videos of some of the stuff I made last month, and I will also be doing things like I'm doing with Conflict with other game systems I'm really interested in, like Hail Caesar, where I'm breaking things down. If that interests you, leave a like, comment, and subscribe, and join me along for the ride of the exploring of lesser-known wargames.